Greetings programs. Today we're going over Teen Titans Earth 1. We open up on the Navajo reservation with Raven and her grandfather as he lets her know that the dreams that she's been having are visions and how that they'll take her to wherever she needs to be. And it shows us also that her powers are more so connected to her lineage as a Navajo than that of Trigon. And the dreams that she's been having, or visions, however you may see it, is that of an alien family crashing to Earth and being abducted by the humans of Earth. We then transition over to Tara as she prepares for her first day of school, needing her mother to drive her to school, but being told that she'll need to walk, she can't today. And with that, Tara brings up how her mother and father used to drive her to school every day, with her mother coming back at her saying that her father left us for a reason and that he isn't essentially a good person from what she's trying to say. But Tara's not having it, and you can see that they have heavy tensions when it comes to the subject of her father. But we see at the same time that Beast Boy's on his way to school, also with his father driving him, letting him know that he doesn't need to be nervous and that he's going to be okay in his first year of high school because he is being fast-tracked, which for those that don't know what that means, essentially, in there are cases where students' academic capabilities are seen advanced enough to move beyond their initial natural grade. So for him, he's going to be the youngest student in his grade, and for anyone that'd be nerve-wracking, but he buckles in and conquers the day. We then see an unlikely pairing of Cyborg and Tara as they have their couples conversation. He should have called her and how they plan to meet each other at the end of the school day. But we see that Cyborg's mother comes up telling them to get to class and that, Cyborg needs to put out whatever he's smoking. From there in the classroom, we see that our new character, Joseph Wilson, has been studying under Cyborg's mother's tutelage during the summer. And Cyborg obviously does not like him at all, or even likes the idea that he's around from his facial expressions. From there, we see during the lunchtime, Cyborg runs over to the bathroom, seeing that he feels unwell. As he lifts his shirt, metal is growing across his body. And him freaking out, he attempts to touch it to see what's going on. But then he gets a flash of an alien speaking to him, asking for help, unsure what's going on. But as the day comes to an end, Joseph speaks with his father how everyone at the school seems so normal. He doesn't know what he was expecting, but he was expecting something more, I guess. But his father says that it seems a bit elitist and how he sounds more like Cyborg's mother than anything, showing us that not just did Joseph study under Cyborg's mother, but his father also has some kind of connection to his mother in some form or facet. We then also see Cyborg and Tara meeting up, where he shows her the metal growing across his body, but she attempts to touch it, then getting a flash of the alien like Cyborg did, but her powers activate as the ground rumbles below them. She runs home as Cyborg sees that the ground below him has cracked apart, and as Cyborg gets home, he lets his mother know that he's unwell and that he needs her, but she's more irritated than anything off rip. But he then lets her know and shows her the metal growing across him. And you would think that a parent would be concerned or comforting, but in this moment she says finally, with the greatest smirk on her face, that if this isn't a sign that she's a villain, I don't know what would be. From here, we see that Tara runs home, probably wanting to be comforted by her mother, but she sees that she's drunk and that this is an issue, obviously. And they start arguing over her father, her saying she's dramatic like her father, and that her mom is the reason that he disappeared. And she throws back about how he left for a reason and it was because of her. And she essentially ends up saying how she never wanted Tara. She slaps her, but Tara decides to start trying to bring the house down with her powers. And her mother tries to say sorry, but it's like, you're trying to say sorry after your life is in danger. But we then see that Beast Boy speaks the alien language, falls over, but we do see that his father says call Stone, showing that not just Joseph's father, but also Beast Boy's fathers are connected to Cyborg's mother in some form. But as we transition back over to Cyborg and his mother, she attempts to try to say how she had given up hope and thought that it didn't work, showing us that she did this to him, that somehow she experimented on Cyborg. From here, we see across the board that everybody's powers are activating and that they're getting a flash of the alien asking help from them, with us realizing that the alien that's asking for help and that's connecting all of them together is Starfire. From there, each and every one of them begins to run away from home as they seemingly are drawn to this beach. From there, we see that Raven and her grandfather are walking towards a cave, and in this cave, he speaks of how this is like where he would go whenever he had visions, showing us that Raven is at the center of it all, connecting all of the future Titans. But we then see back with Cyborg's mother how all the parents of the Titans knew that this was happening, and that, or at least they knew that this would happen, and that they need to clean up the mess because they don't want their employer coming in to clean it up. We'd also see that Beast Boy's father would walk up trying to talk about how we need to get the police involved, but Cyborg's mother puts him down, showing that he was a liability and anyone else that is a liability will get the same treatment. Slade Wilson attempts to try to pick her up and try to get her to be come to a rationality, but we also see in their dialogue that Slade Wilson was most likely the reason why Tara's father disappeared, because he stepped out of line like Beast Boy's father. But we then see that Cyborg's mother tells Slade Wilson that he needs to go and find the kids, and that her and Tara's mother need to get to the lab. But as we transition back over to the Titans, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and that the lighthouse is the only thing that they know for sure is a connecting factor. But Joseph attempts to convince everyone to try to go to Dr. Stone, Cyborg's mother, but Cyborg obviously saying that this is a bad idea and that he can stay out of this, even though he may have spent the summer with his mother and that he doesn't know what he's talking about, essentially. And throughout this whole thing, Joseph has seemed the most suspect of anything, seeing that he's the most calm as everyone freaks out. We then see that Slade Wilson runs up in his worst design as Deathstroke, trying to get the kids to come with him and to calm down. As he attempts to grab Cyborg gives him the greatest haymaker, sending him flying. But then Tara begins to use her power, but Slade jumps over that and starts attacking the teens, and a fight breaks out. Cyborg gives him another haymaker, but he pulls out a device that disrupts the metal in his body, causing him to fall down. But we then see that it is Star Labs in this universe that's having this whole situation being orchestrated by. But Cyborg's mother says that this current state of Star Labs doesn't compare to where they first started. But we then learn that Starfire is being kept in some kind of pod, and that Cyborg's mother is trying to have her dosed up with ketamine, perfluoxetine, horse tranquilizer, and schizophrenia medication in order to keep her in control. Because they also realize that the reason all this is happening is because of puberty, and that this all first started with her as an infant, and with her getting into her age of puberty, her powers are activating, and the connection she has to the other Titans is also activated, causing everyone to have their powers activated, and for the whole issue of this comic starting. We then see that Slade Wilson is handing everyone's ass to them in this whole fight, but we eventually get Raven popping up in a spirit form, taking out Deathstroke. But from here, the Titans tend to don't know what to do. Tara's trying to run off. Cyborg grabs her to to comfort her. They try to do this together. But we also find out that someone in this organization of Star Labs lets Cyborg's mother know that if she doesn't get things handled within the hour, then Starfire will be killed, and that their Project Blackfire is what they'll resort to from this point forward. But from there, the Titans decide to go to a lighthouse, breaking in and trying to get answers. But as they get to the lighthouse, they begin to realize that this is where the experimentation was, and where they all were infants and were experimented on, and how they may have gained their powers. But then they also find Aqualad, as I'm going to call him, and they call him Tempest, but also he's obviously Lagoon Boy. And eventually they stumble across Cyborg's mother, as she tries to convince them to calm down and to understand that they were going to be amazing and that they used the alien DNA to make soldiers, realizing that the adults were failures because they were too old, so they went with children. And so then a fight breaks out as anger bubbles up amongst all of them. But from here, Cyborg argues with his mother about how we're not special, this is like horrific, and how she doesn't get why he wanted to be normal, average. But as this is happening, Beast Boy realizes that his father is dead. And then Beast Boy puts the literal pause on Cyborg's mother as the fight continues. And eventually, Cyborg's mother tells Joseph it's time, with us realizing that Joseph has been on the side of Cyborg's mother this entire time. Also making us realize that he wasn't just studying under Cyborg's mother as a student, but as a ideal son for her, because he saw his powers and embraced it. He became more than what he was in her kind of mindset. So from there, Joseph, now going by Jericho, starts jumping into everyone's bodies, taking on the Titans, trying to beat them and slow them down. But as the fight goes over, Deathstroke shows up and put pause on his own son, getting him to stop. From there, Cyborg holds onto Jericho, and Deathstroke essentially is about to kill Cyborg's mother. But from here, Cyborg is disoriented by the device again. Jericho jumps into his father, attempting to have his father kill himself. But Slade pushes him out and incidentally slices his own son's throat, like in the main universe. Well, he didn't slice his throat in the main universe, but the scenario of his son being unable to speak. But the thing is that Joseph jumps into his father's body in order to survive. And from there, Starfire calls out to everybody once more as the timer gets closer to 0. And we see that Starfire is tied up like she's in Fifth Element. From there, Cyborg and Beast Boy begin to bang onto the machine to get her out before she's killed. But as they get her out, Starfire gets the quickest revenge on Cyborg's mother, to the point where there was no reason for her to say sorry. From there, Starfire dips on them, and Terra's mother comes in trying to help, to letting them know that the location in Utah is another facility, is where Blackfire is held and Starfire's starship is kept. It is also where they can find more answers, and the man who started all this called her. And Terra, like anyone, doesn't know why they should trust her at all, and no one should from how things are went. But she brings a suit for Tempest, Lagoon Boy as I will call him for the rest of this time when we talk about this story. And then eventually they go on the run as we get a monologue about how she's been afraid and she doesn't know what's going on. But as the Titans run, the facility helicopters come in, chasing them down. But we then see that Starfire and Raven meet face to face, coming to an end of this comic. Let me know what y'all thought. Let me know if you want any more Earth 1 universe comics coming your way, because I will do a issue 2 for this. And stay nerdy.